You're listening to Funk with Fate, a show about being a body and cultivating pleasurable relationships with everything. And I'm your host, Mackenzie McCormick. This podcast will explore how our embodied experiences connect us to the world through astrology, philosophy, dance, magic, and anything that invigorates our aliveness. What makes us feel the most alive? Big inhale, big exhale. Now let's get grooving. Hello, Hottie, and welcome to the show. Right now, it is 8:10 p.m. Eastern on Sunday, April 9th, 2023. And right now in my location, we have late Libra rising with Jupiter on the descendant. So today, I am so honored, excited, thrilled to have Rowan on the podcast with us. Rowan, why don't you go ahead and introduce yourself? Maybe introduce us to StarScribe, which is the amazing app that you're creating, the reason we're here today. Yeah, go ahead.
Hi, great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. I'm Rowan Oliver. I am a traditional astrologer and the co-founder of StarScribe Astrology Journal, which is a new astrology journaling planner and social app that is coming to iOS, Android, and web later this year. StarScribe is a traditional astrology-based a fully functioning astrology app. We have natal chart integrations, we have current transits and daily horoscopes, which we are so blessed to have this week. Mackenzie is doing our horoscopes. They are fantastic. You can find out more about StarScribe and check out our web beta at starscribe.co and app.starscribe.co for the web beta.
So let's just go ahead and pull her up now. Let's just go ahead and pull up the website because she is gorgeous, truly, truly gorgeous. And also, yes, super biased that one of the reasons I wanted to record this week is because obviously I'm writing the daily horoscopes this week. But it's so amazing. So this is the chart, this is the chart of the moment of the day when you pull it up and you look at it. And also everyone on the pod has seen my chart if they listen to the first episode. So it's fine. We can pull up and see what my chart looks like to see visually. And she's gorgeous. So she's aesthetic, beautiful. And then you can go down here and look at all of this information. Look at all of this information that is on StarScribe, y'all. Come on. So you can see your natal chart. And then also this is personally, I think maybe my favorite feature, which is the notes feature. I only have a couple of these in here. If you want to tell us more about those, LOL at me being illness transit. What a very typical thing for me to keep track of is my body.
Yeah, so StarScribe was born out of a shared passion for astrology and tracking transits between me and once a client and now a friend and business partner, Romina Barrett. She is 100% of the back end natal chart calculations, fully created her own custom ephemeris for StarScribe that is fully integrated with our app. And a big portion of the idea behind the app is to be able to look at the day's astrology, look at, the daily horoscope, what we call the daily snippets or the vibe checks of the horoscope, and understand what's going on with the astrology and how that correlates to your life. So, for example, with today's horoscope, the moon's in Sagittarius. The moon is, moving towards a connection with Jupiter. We're getting the Jupiter Cazimi this week. What's going on in your life that is reflected by these transits? And that's what we're really looking to build out and help people understand astrology more and help them understand themselves more as they kind of get closer to what's happening in the skies and how that translates into what's happening in their lives.
It's amazing. I think it's so cool that it was a client to friend relationship that you were wait, we have this idea, we could do this. I think that's so cool.
Yeah. So Romina has been a software engineer for a long time, and we first met in a consultation in early 2021. And she mentioned, I'm working on building my own custom ephemeris, basically. And I said, that's super cool. Please keep me updated. And then she came back for another consultation, was so that's done. And now I want to build an app. And I was yes, immediately windmill slam. Yes, I was so excited because I have always loved astrology apps. but there's not a lot that have like full functionalities. There's maybe a daily horoscope app, but it doesn't show your natal chart, or there's a natal chart app, but it doesn't give you delineations of the day, or it uses very basic, very cookie cutter delineations. And instead of doing that, I was like, let's just start from scratch and build everything up. And we have this gorgeous chart interface and a really nice way of laying out each bit of the day's astrology and how you can check out your own natal placements as well.
It's truly gorgeous. I remember seeing y'all first post about this and being just wowed by the aesthetics of the chart, especially as a very like visual person. For me, it's like, if it's functional, that's great, but it would be cool if it was pretty too. That would be cool as well. And so I love how just like visually striking it is, and how all of even though they are like just like the normal planetary glyphs, they're all somewhat like a little stylized and kind of cool looking. And it just feels very, I don't even think the word modern is the right word, because it's not necessarily like high tech looking.
Contemporary.
Yeah. Like it's like what today's charts would look like and feel like, you know?
Yeah.
Which I love so much.
Yeah, one of our main things is the idea of bringing traditional astrology to the modern era, making it accessible for people. So it's not like, oh God, I have to study, things that happened 2000 years ago to understand this framework. It's laid out in a very simple and easy to understand way that even a brand new, like an absolute newbie to astrology could read it and understand what we're trying to do, understand what things mean. And we have all of the glossary that we're working on for the mobile app, so that we can give you like the very basics, and then you can delve further in from there. It's a great jumping off point for newbies, and it's a great tool for people who have been with astrology for a long time. We don't have a lot of places that, you can just see the chart and immediately write down your thoughts about the chart. A lot of desktop apps might have some of that, like optional, put a little note in there, but it doesn't prompt you to write about how you're experiencing that moment like StarScribe does.
Absolutely. It reminded me a bit like a combination of a lot of things that maybe exist, but don't quite all go together. Like, especially the journaling aspect. Like I have a honeycomb planner. And so that's where I do a lot of journaling, but you don't have like a daily chart. Like you have the transits, but sometimes it can be a little difficult, especially if you're not as well versed in astrology, to like visualize what that means, and to then like visualize your chart next to it with it, like being able to switch between so cohesively and to see what's going on, and then be like, oh, okay, so this is what's happening today astrologically, and then what's happening today personally, and then you can just write that down so easily, which I love that feature so much.
Yeah, and on the Today's Chart app, on this page here that we're seeing on the screen right now, this is fully with your rising sign as the like displayed rising sign. So you see what the planets are doing in your chart right now, where they are affecting your houses, where they are affecting, like, we don't have the bi-wheel set up yet. That is coming. But we'll have a transits to natal option coming soon. But
that's so interesting. I actually, funny enough, I had noticed that, but I didn't know if it was intentional. I was like, am I just looking at the chart like when it's Sag rising? Because right now that is kind of late, but right now in this point in time, it's not Sag rising. But that is amazing that whatever your default, like whatever your natal chart is, that house layout, that rising sign is what is automatically put on the Today's Chart feature, so that you can much more clearly see, like, especially for the moon, who moves so fast, you can see exactly which house she's moving through at all times. I love that.
And you can see like Mars finally leaving your 7th, and now Mars in the 8th transit. And this is sort of like a snapshot of what it's like, taking out your natal placements, but what it's like generally if we infused the current transits into your chart.
I love that. Also love that for me personally, having a moon in the first transit.
Yeah.
Loving it for me, baby. That's so cool. And also, so right down here, it says, please consider supporting StarScribe on Kickstarter. So let's go ahead and pull up the gorgeous Kickstarter page, which shows like a mock-up of the mobile version. This is also shout out. Ooh, we love it. We love a real-time money switch. We love that.
Yeah, it was lower last time I clicked on it, which is almost every second of every day at this point.
Perfect. We love that. And so this is, honestly, I'm I'm selfishly so excited for this app because it's going to be, especially for me as a practitioner, an app that I can recommend to clients, because that is one of the, I think as all astrologers and practitioners, we get that question a lot. Like, what app do you recommend? What app do you use? And it's like, well, I'm not going to recommend you like Astro Gold because that's worthless to you, essentially. Like that's worthwhile. It's worth a lot to me, but to you, just seeing a chart, that doesn't do much, as opposed to having meaning and words and a place to put your thoughts with things. And so like, this is just so beautiful and aesthetic. I'm so excited to be able to very easily recommend to clients and say, hey, this is a good one. You should do it. So tell us about the Kickstarter.
So we're running a Kickstarter to secure funding to build out essentially the mobile app. We are a tiny little team of 2 people trying to bring this giant project to life. And we are really committed to data privacy and not selling out to big corporations so that they would end up diluting our end product. If we needed to go to, a big tech company and get a giant grant from them, they would have a say in how we would run and build out our app. And since this is such an indie project and something that is really, really near and dear to our hearts personally, we're asking our community and the astrology community at large to show up for us and help us bring you the best new astrology app that we can possibly bring you. And so we're running the Kickstarter. We were recently featured on the astrology podcast as well, where legend Chris Brennan said he was actually kind of excited about us, which you know anything about him, is high praise.
High praise. If you know anything about Chris Brennan, or also like writ large any Aquarius rising, like I love Aquarius risings. One of my beloved is an Aquarius rising, and still it's like, man, getting you hype about something, that means it's a big deal. And so I remember seeing that clip of and like listening on the pod when Chris mentioned y'all and being like, okay, Chris feels a thing, which we love.
We got an Aquarius rising to display an emotion. Like,
to display,
if that's not like a sponsorship in and of itself.
Truly, it is. And so if you go onto the Kickstarter page, as I like have it shown here, if you're watching the video version, you can see all of like the mock-ups of these amazing pages. Like, God, like this journal entry page, I'm going to be looping all over this journal entry page. Like, I'm so excited about this. And also this, like when you can look out and like look at the month and see like, and like click on specific days, like I'm so thrilled about that. Specifically, the notion of having an actual journal integrated with your chart software and like with the ephemeris is so amazing, because it really does incorporate that like communicative, like interpersonal aspect of it. How you mentioned like you exchanging notes like with Romina, and how astrologers will often like leave each other a little text and be like, oh my God, did you see the moon? Do you see Venus out in the sky right now? Like, oh my gosh, what's happening for you right now as you're looking at her,
Yeah. And a really cool thing with the social features as well is that we will be able to kind of create a community for what has been Astro Twitter, what has been the online Astro community, to have a safe and supportive environment to share astrology information, to share astrology takes that aren't necessarily like everyone's arguing, but it's just, this is my thoughts on the day, this is my thoughts on the moment, like, and being able to see other people's informed takes and communicate with other astrologers and astrology enthusiasts in an open source like platform like this, where we can kind of build a community rather than what's the word for what Astro Twitter is?
A dumpster fire,
an argument constantly. We're not setting out to form, hot take central for astrology. We're creating a place where it's okay to share maybe some off the wall takes, and you don't have to argue with everybody. It's because it's more based on personal experience than it is trying to tell people that this is what happens if you have a 6th house moon or whatever. My experience with a 6th house moon has been this, or my experience with Mars transiting through my 9th has been this. And that doesn't have to mean that it's like, this is the hard line, but you get to see for real how transits are showing up in other people's lives which is an incredible tool for learning more about astrology. Because if you're not sure, what Saturn going through your 10th house is going to mean for you, you could see what, a current Gemini rising is, or no, not a Gemini rising, a Sag rising is dealing with right now, or what with a transit in their 4th house or anything like that. Like, you can see what is going on for other people and then have that inform your knowledge of what these transits might mean for you or for clients in the future if you decide to study going professionally.
Yeah, lived experience is the biggest teacher of all. That reminds me of something that Chris Brennan said on like a different podcast that he did about like becoming a professional astrologer, and how like you oftentimes think you're ready and then you get in consultation, you're like, there's still so much more to learn, because there's really no greater teacher than getting the experience and doing the thing. As much as we all love our courses and our books and everything, and even Astro Twitter for bringing each other's differing perspectives together. But I know for me personally, I'm very excited about this too, not just for what it is, but for all of those other things about, like how Astro Twitter is really like a dumpster fire of arguments, and how people get on there and they very much want to proclaim their superiority in ways and assert their dominance essentially in the field or in their expertise, which of course everybody wants to show off what they're good at, but at the same time, it can get like, whose dick is bigger, know? And then all of a sudden you have like the melon trying to burn it all down anyway.
Mm-hmm.
And you're like, what the fuck what the fuck are we doing here?
Yeah.
Like,
how are we supposed to connect with one another if every single opportunity we have to link out to our sites or our Substacks or anywhere else is being absolutely throttled by the owners of the big tech company? And that won't be an issue with StarScribe, because it's going to be more of a friends-based platform than a like follow anyone-based platform, where you can choose to engage with who you want, but you're not shown people that you don't want to be involved with. You're not forced to see people you've blocked or whatever. Having these kind of privacy options and the ability to have a longer format where you don't need to say, okay, I have to make, a 15 tweet thread, and none of my engagement gets actually sent to my website. It's all stuck here on this other owned platform. And any personal things that you post are completely kept safe. We're not interested in ever selling any data. So this is all very much like, hey, it's contained in here, and we're not letting that get out to third parties in any way. We're not letting that become a marketing tool for us. We're not taking your birth data and going, okay, let's see who the highest bidder is going to be. It's a safe and supportive environment that we're trying to build here.
I think that we should all really, if you're listening or watching, I think you should just like really take a moment here to understand how big of a deal that is in today's world, in today's society where big tech is so fucking big and where every single person is a commodity that can be capitalized on. And the fact that this app is being built by an actual astrologer, and of course, Romina as well, but it's hard to actually state how important confidentiality is to practicing astrologers, because we are dealing with the most sensitive data of a person's life. And also people come to us in the most vulnerable of states.
Oh, yeah.
And so we are given some of the most confidential of confidential information that a person could ever give literally anyone. And that requires so much trust. Like, that requires so much trust, so much vulnerability, and so much integrity as a practitioner to be able to hold that information and to not exploit it, to not take advantage of it, and to also hold that space for a client with care, with compassion, with honesty, with all of that deeply embedded into your practice, and how important that is, because then you're bringing that to each client, you're bringing that to each session, and knowing that they're getting the best of you and that they're in a safe, trusted, supported environment. And so it's hard to state how big of a deal it is that this app that y'all are creating is going to be built on such an ethical foundation, because we don't get that as much as we should, as much as us being human people deserve in today's world. We're often seen as just another number, or whoever like you said, the highest bidder is, cool, there goes your information. As opposed to seeing people as people and actually having real life human experiences, and then having a place where they can talk about those raw, real experiences without then, like, for example, like then it becoming a viral thread that somebody wants to nitpick on, you know?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And speaking of like people being treated as people, that's a big part of our foundation as well, where it's specifically like we want to uplift other astrologers in the community. Like what we're doing during the Kickstarter campaign, featuring other astrologers writing our horoscopes. And ideally, we'd like to be able to keep that going for a long time and also pay astrologers a living wage for following their passion. Like we, of course, could hypothetically build this app for way cheaper if we were using an AI to design our merch, to create our horoscopes, to create our delineations, but we're not. We are committed to 100% of our app being made by people. No, machine learning to figure out, what does Mars in Cancer mean according to ChatGPT? It's like, no, according to a real person who is experiencing a transit, who is understanding and watching the skies as they happen to us and happen with us. You can't replace that with a machine. And we are really, really committed to uplifting other astrologers in the community from a bunch of different backgrounds. Like we are, based in traditional astrology, but as we grow and as we evolve, this is going to be something that any people from any background of astrology can really dig their heels into and really experience. Maybe you're not using essential dignities in your practice, and that's great. And maybe we want a take that's not about that sometimes with our horoscopes. Maybe we want something completely different. Maybe we want to check out, a different timing technique that we haven't put in here yet, which we are the first app to ever feature annual perfections, by the way, which is super cool.
That's amazing.
And hopefully soon we're also going to be integrating ZR, which that's a long-term project, but it is definitely on the docket to do. But yeah, like even things like progressions or something like that, as we grow and see what our user base wants to see from us, we're able to integrate things from a variety of different traditions. And that's based on the astrologers that we work with, the people that, are part of our astro community that we want to see have a platform outside of just Twitter or Instagram, these big tech owned companies.
Yeah, important to mention, because at the beginning, of course, like I plugged that I'm writing the horoscopes this week, but we've had like the last 2 weeks, and then like next week, I know as well, like there are different astrologers writing the horoscopes every single week while Rowan and Romina are like running this massive Kickstarter. And so like shout out to y'all for not just bringing in astrologers from the community, but also like wanting different perspectives. Like I know last week John was writing, and John is like a Jyotish god.
Yeah.
And I was reading John's daily scopes, and I was just like, you're so brilliant, John.
Yeah, they texted me and asked if they could integrate the nakshatras into the horoscopes. And I was like, absolutely, yes. Bring in different portions of the tradition. I love the way that you're writing, where it's very much like what I call horoscope voice, but in a way that's truly engaging rather than like, today's spicy Aries, you'll be doing this. It's like, this is just the way that it kind of brings about the idea of thinking about the transits in a different way and seeing all of these different voices come through. Because up until Zach took over for the first week of the Kickstarter, I was writing all of these daily horoscopes myself. And it's like, it's a lot of work to do that. And we want to be able to support more people doing this. I don't want to be StarScribe's only astrologer. Like, this being a one-man project is untenable. This is something where we want to bring in and communicate and collaborate with a bunch of new people and get you, get you involved with more astrologers, get more people to see different people's content and understand different portions of what astrology is as a whole by reading all of these different voices.
Yeah, if y'all have never written a daily horoscope, then I don't want anybody to ever talk smack about any daily horoscopes, because that is so much harder than anybody I think ever appreciates. I've done it a couple times for like long-term clients where they're like, ooh, I have a couple days where stuff's going on. And I'm like, all right, here, let me give you like a good little daily scope and stuff like that. But this was my first time writing like a full week of them in a row. And I remember first sitting down to do it. And I was like, how the fuck do I even write about the stars every day? Like, what do I even say? And then I was like, all right, break it down. Don't overwhelm yourself. And then it becomes so much fun, but it's also like, wow, you really have to say something about every single day. And that's so much work. And I know that there are people that do it like you, like every single day. And it's so commendable and it is such hard work. And if you are listening to this and you access any piece of data that uses a daily horoscope, I just want you to bow down to the writer, please. Okay?
Yeah, please.
Please bow down to the writer who wrote your daily horoscope because they worked their tail end off for you. Okay? They worked hard for you.
And we, and at StarScribe right now, we're not doing rising sign specific horoscopes. Partially because that would mean writing
12 a day.
12 a day. And that's whatever 7 times 12 is. I don't do math very well.
It's a lot.
It's almost 100 horoscopes in a week, basically.
It's a lot.
And that's like a lot of work to put on people. And
it's also maybe not unrealistic. I know people do it. Maybe occasionally, maybe not every day. But there is something, I guess, in my perspective that hits so hard about like the collective astrology and like the broad scope transit, because it's like, what's happening to everybody, like what, and it's definitely also a community building thing as well, as much as I also like love a personal rising sign scope, like for myself selfishly, but at the same time, there's something so uniting about like collective scope that's like, here's what's going on for everybody, and everybody can see how that plays out in their life and then like in their day, which I love so much.
Yeah. And it really, on the astrologers end too, really gets you connected to, okay, what is happening this week? Like, where are we starting and where are we ending this week? And how are we pushing forward? What is the vibe change between Monday and Tuesday? How are we experiencing the moon move from Sagittarius to Capricorn? What's the, socio-political kind of changes that are happening? Because a lot of that I've seen, I've written the horoscopes. I usually write them about a week in advance. And then the day of, I'm like, oh, that's like exactly what I was talking about. And that's a news story that I was like, oh, the moon's going to do this. And then the news was like, the moon did that.
The moon did that. The news has a funny way of doing that. Maybe sometimes it's not so funny, but especially lately with some of the just like massive headlines, anybody who knows anything knows that we are like going through massive times, as they like to say it, unprecedented times for the 100th time in the last 10 days.
Somehow this is still unprecedented.
Somehow these are still unprecedented times. And it's like, wow, I really wish I had a journal with a chart that I could write in about these unprecedented times.
That's StarScribe, baby.
And that is StarScribe, y'all. Truly. Like, it is so aesthetically beautiful. Because often I find that even whether it's apps or websites, astrology software can look very clunky. Mm-hmm. Like, it can look very clunky and a little awkward looking, and it can just kind of be not sure what it's looking like. And so also important to mention on the Kickstarter, there are so many options here. Like, there are so many options of support. You can just pledge, back it because you believe in it, as you all should, along with all of these different features, like amazing like merch options.
Shout out Zartana for the fantastic merch designs. We have currently these temporary ones of hers that she's already done, but she's designing all brand new merch for us. And it's going to be exclusive to Kickstarter backers. Eventually, we're going to have a merch shop. But right now, like, anything that is pledged with the Kickstarter is 100% exclusive to the Kickstarter.
Yeah, Zartana is an artist and astrologer. And so also important to mention, like, you're not just hiring an artist to do this. You're hiring an actual astrologer who is learned, who is experienced, who is also an artist as well. So, and Zartana has their own shop as well. But the fact that the custom stuff for StarScribe, I'm so excited. It's going to be beautiful. And so look at, like, y'all, there are so many options. There are so many different things that you can get to support. Like, there are literally so many things. Like, look at all of the stuff. Like, this is insane.
Yeah. And we are working on a couple of new options for the perks as well, yet to be released. So I can't let you know quite yet. But just be sure to check out the Kickstarter sometime this week, because we're still choosing our election specifically for releasing some of that.
I feel that.
Yeah. So all I can do is preview that new stuff is coming, and we're really excited to share more of this with you soon.
That's so epic. So like all of this and then more, like y'all, Rowan and Romina have been working their sexy booties off on this, y'all. Seriously. And this is also, worth mentioning right now, StarScribe is free.
Yes, 100% of it is
Free.
currently free.
You don't have to pay anything to get on here and to look at your beautiful chart of the day, to look at your beautiful natal chart. All of this is free right now. This is amazing. And that's also wildly unheard of. I just want y'all to understand. Like, this type of high quality astrology content is very often a lot of money that you have to pay for. And to be free, to be such high quality, to look so good, big deal.
Yeah, everything that we've done so far has been fully with our just like support from the community, and honestly, just like a lot of things out of pocket. We've spent a lot of time laboring on this that we have not asked for compensation for, because we truly believe in what we're doing. And of course, it would be nice to, get paid out a little bit, but that's not where we're spending most of the Kickstarter money either. We're going to be building out the app. We're going to be paying back some of the out-of-pocket costs, because it is not free to host this website. It's not free to have our mailing list, to essentially build any of this out. We're going to need to pay designers. We're going to need to pay astrologers and content creators. And we want to be able to actually do that without having to, spend $30,000 of our very own money. It's a lot, but we are super committed to keeping at least portions and the core of StarScribe free to use. There will be premium features that are coming out when we launch the mobile app, but everything that we've got right now on the web beta, none of that is going to go behind a paywall. We will still be a fully functioning app, even if you don't want to give us a single cent. And if you do decide that you want to get the premium features, I think they're going to be well worth it.
Amazing. Like, y'all, this is absolutely out of this world. The fact that this is all so accessible, and the accessibility is a big thing, along with the fact that the accessibility is coming with such integrity and with such ethics and with such experience. Like, we're not just hiring like a writer, and it's not like y'all are just hiring writers to write astrology content, which is something that happens, I think, more than people realize, especially in like big like pop culture magazines or like highly trafficked websites where people read blogs and articles and stuff a lot. You very often see like copywriters that are paid to write astrology horoscopes or astrology content, and like
which three signs might break up this week or whatever. And it's like, use your brains.
Use discernment, please.
Yeah.
Especially because all of those, like, if you don't know, and if you don't, of course, like understand enough to like kind of see through the lines, or to even go down and check the byline and check things out, you might not have any idea that that person is not astrologically fluent or is not a practitioner of astrology and doesn't actually have experience in the field. And yet you can take this and absorb this information because, of course, like everything on the internet is so easily accessible, right? And this person could have gotten their information from ChatGPT. Like,
yeah. Or from what is it? The only astrology book you'll ever need, and like a PDF version of that they found online or something.
Look, that book, I have it on my bookshelf back there. It's back there somewhere. And spoiler alert, it is not the only astrology. It is not the only astrology book that anyone ever needs, because it quite literally barely scratches the surface, and you open it and you're like, this is what I paid for? Like, what?
This is all I need, but I don't know anything. This didn't teach me anything.
I know, like literally, I'm like, what? How is this supposed to be all I need? Because I know nothing.
It's a great place to jump off of and be like, but wait, I need to know more about X, Y, and Z. I don't get this. And it's like, haha, now you need other astrology books.
Yeah. And you're like, and the iceberg has been hit.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. I think that it's absolutely amazing that you and Romina are doing this, and especially building out this Kickstarter. Like, honestly, I've been continuing to scroll, y'all. This Kickstarter page has so much information on it, has so many details on it about Rowan, about Romina, who they are, about why they're doing this Kickstarter, which we've said it already, you've said already, but let's reiterate. There are 2 fucking people doing all of this now.
It's just the 2 of us.
It is just the 2 of them. And of course, like me and other astrologers have written like the daily scopes, which is of course some help, but it is not the same as building out an entire app. And Rowan and Romina are doing a literal service to the community right now, y'all. Like taking their time, their money, their energy, which is more worthy than anything else in this absolute world, and putting it into this because they believe in it. And I know that me as an astrologer, I'm super excited about this for my own like selfish reasons, because I'm like, wow, I have a place to write my thoughts and my feelings. I love that. And also knowing that everyone can use this. You know, this isn't, even though you are a professional astrologer and like a great astrologer at that, let's just take a moment. Rowan is amazing. But not only are you an amazing astrologer, but you're also doing this with Romina, and you have such a like amazing ethic behind this, and you're doing it for other astrologers, but also people that don't know anything about astrology. You know, if you are a total like normie, have no idea what this stuff is, you can still go on StarScribe and you can like read the daily horoscope. And even though you're like Jupiter, the moon,
what does that mean?
Yeah, you know,
it's like then head over to our glossary and find out. It's all there. Yeah.
It's all there. And like all of the information is there, which is so amazing. And I think that's accessibility point is so huge, because a lot of the times apps nowadays or like websites or anything for astrology content is really geared towards one or the other. Like either I'm doing astrology for astrologers or I'm doing astrology for everybody else. And it's very hard to find that middle of the road where many different people can be satisfied.
Yeah. And that's really one of the main things that we're focusing on, is the ability to not only give, brand new people to astrology and astrologers this resource, but to connect people who are brand new to astrology to really like certified, fantastic astrologers around the world from many different practices. How like learning from other people is often way more valuable than trying to read a book on your own. Trying to understand Hellenistic astrology, the study of fate and fortune, available in fine bookstores everywhere by Chris Brennan, if you're a brand newbie, is so difficult. Like it's difficult to parse a lot of astrological jargon and understand what somebody is actually saying. Like, sure, my moon's in fall, but like, what the fuck does that mean? And being able to connect with astrologers and see what other people are writing about, see what other people are talking about, and what's really relevant for either the current astrology or your natal chart is such an invaluable resource to be able to like cut your teeth on the astrology in the first place.
Yeah. So as Rowan and I are both fallen moon people, if you have any questions, you can definitely DM either of us about that.
Yeah.
Or book a consultation, to be real. But we both are very experienced in the fallen moon life.
Oh yeah.
And also like specifically what you said about Hellenistic astrology, because this is an app that is very steeped in tradition. And, Hellenistic astrology, the study of fate and fortune, available in fine bookstores everywhere, is not a beginner book. Like, no. Let's go ahead and say that, like that. And along with like Demetra George's books, like they might be introductory for astrologers, but there's no like regular person that has no background in astrology that can like pick up Chris Brennan or Demetra's book and be like, this is so digestible.
Right. If I tried to be like, my mom has asked me, for example, like, oh, like send me resources, and she'll, send me forwards of an astrologer that she follows on a blog or whatever, and be like, ooh, whatever. And I'm like, I cannot be like, hello, mother, please read this book so you actually know what's going on. Like it is such a dense and fantastic resource, but it's not for beginners. I would never recommend somebody who is like brand new to astrology to go read an Abu Mashar book or go read Valens, like
especially maybe not your mom.
Right. But, not having that be an intimidating introduction and letting StarScribe be a place where you can get familiar with some terms. And then if you decide, oh, I want to learn more about solar returns or annular perfections or the dignities or anything like that, then we can, create basically, one of our goals is also to create like a resource library, a place for people to find beginner, intermediate, and advanced resources that are vetted by multiple astrologers in the community. And that kind of leads me into our idea of the astrologer portal that we're planning on releasing as one of our premium features once we are live on the mobile app. And that's literally connecting people to astrologers, whether you're booking with an astrologer through the app, whether you're getting like astrology advice from somebody, whether you're just subscribed to essentially like our version of their blog or Substack or anything like that. Being able to directly ask astrologers for their advice, for their opinions on something, for resources. And for practicing astrologers, this is super, super cool because we'll be able to share essentially our clients, like our notes with our clients through the app, and allow them to share their journal entries with us, be able to add to their planner for dates that we talked about in consultation with little notes where it's like, oh, April 11th is going to be a really big thing for you because you're in a Jupiter ruled year and are Pisces sun and whatever, and being able to say this is going to be a date that's important, and not having that be lost in a client's notebook somewhere, but something that gives you a push notification. It's like your astrologer said that this is the day for X, Y, and Z when you were talking about this in your consultation, and having that be at your fingertips at any time.
That is so valuable, y'all. Like, especially because I know this for myself as a practicing astrologer, the format with which I give my notes to my clients has shape-shifted quite a lot.
Oh, yeah.
Since I started my practice, because how do you accurately tell someone all the things that you want to tell them in consult? And then you're like, oh, by the way, I have all these things that I also want to tell you. And you're like, how do I get from point A to point B with this information in a way that makes sense and it doesn't look like googly gack?
Yeah. Yeah. And you can just leave little notes, or, your clients, or if you are the client, you can reach out to the astrologer that you worked with last time and say, hey, I have this big project that I have coming up. What's a good time to submit this? When is it what's a good election for this? And integrating people from all different backgrounds, potentially even having like horary practitioners that are on call through the app that you can be like, hey, I need to ask, one of these practitioners a question, and that's all included in the membership. And then we're able to also pay astrologers to do this with our company and with our app. And get everybody connected in this much more intimate and much more personal way than, oh, I followed you on Twitter and I liked your stuff.
And as much as we love Astro Twitter because it has connected all of us, and also we should just like pause here. Shout out to Astro Twitter because that's literally how Rowan and I met.
Right, exactly.
We literally met on Astro Twitter, like through the Twitter sphere, and then we connected in person at NORWAC last year, NORWAC 2022, which was quite literally a portal. NORWAC 2022. It's one for the books. One for the books. And so like all of these different ways that people have met each other. And so like Rowan and I, perfect example, we have like talked enough on Astro Twitter and like spoken enough through the world that is point like, oh, cool. We've sussed each other out. I trust you. I think you know what you're talking.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what you're talking about. But you don't always get that with like astrology apps or software. You can, or even just going on Twitter, you can be like, this person looks really smart. Follow, book a consultation. And then you get in consultation and you're like, you have no idea what the fuck you're talking about. And so to have that like network of like checking and like actually making sure that all like, okay, all these people are connected. This is a network, a community of people that know each other, that work together, that obviously can talk to each other about these things on the level that practitioners can, which is just different than anything else, as pretty much anyone in any specialized industry can probably understand. When you're with people that do the thing that you do, it is different.
Oh yeah.
And so being able to have,
sorry, no, go ahead. Okay.
No.
2 Scorpio moons trying not to talk over one another.
Truly.
Yeah, but like, for example, at NORWAC, right? Like the way that we would talk at NORWAC is in no way equivalent to the way that we would speak to a client, because we would be going way over their heads. And I always start my consultations like, I just want to get a vibe for like where your level of knowledge is, so I'm not going over your head or dumbing anything down. And like, do we want to talk technical, or do we want to talk like metaphorical? Do you not even want to hear me say the word Venus this whole time, you know? Like, we don't need to necessarily in consultation be like, okay, so your dignity score for your Venus in Taurus is an 11. Congratulations, you have a good Venus. And like, I mean, I don't even use the number scores for that anyway, but like, for example,
yes.
Yeah. And like with another astrologer, it's like, oh yeah, you know, I've been going through this transit, whatever, like, and you can just say, Mars has been in my 12th for 7 months. And people will be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry, bestie.
Right. And you're like, ooh, oh my goodness, what's happening? And all of that, like equilibrium shifts and all of that, like kind of checking in, you know, and it's like being able to do that on a very high level and understanding like, okay, I can not dumb it down, but like I can scale it to exactly where you are, and having like such a good resource of being like, here are astrologers that I trust to do that, to be able to scale things down, scale things up, to be able to talk about things with compassion and also with experience and with this like very strong foundation of knowledge, no matter where their foundation is, that they have it, that they have done the readings, they have done the things, like not just like done consultations, but they have like read the Abu Mashar book that we don't recommend beginners to read, that we do that. And knowing that this is such a trusted community is just it's just so massive.
Yeah. And it's not like we're just going to be like, okay, I'm cherry picking all of my friends to come do consultations through StarScribe. It's like, yes, it's going to start out with people that Romina and I know, people that we trust for real. But then we expand past there and we start integrating, you know, modern astrologers. We start integrating people from the Vedic traditions and everything different. And like, you can come to StarScribe and find a wide breadth of different traditions, of different modalities, of different personalities too, where it's not just, oh, Rowan and Romina's friends do an app. It's like, no, we are committed to really opening this up for people, but still vetting people that we are saying, yes, you can work with us, you can work through us. It's not like, oh, anybody can just do it. We know that these people are trusted by their community members, whether it's our community or not. It's, okay, do you know what you're talking about enough that we can trust that you are going to give our users the best possible astro advice or astro information that you can, and that information is backed in research and in training and in knowing your shit, basically.
Literally knowing your shit, because in today's world, it is very easy to appear on the internet that you know your shit and to then have absolutely nothing to back it up in real life. And that's not to say that you have to take a certain amount of courses or you have to read a certain amount of books, but there is an untouchable lived experience that comes with being an astrologer, living and breathing with the planets, with the stars, and understanding that this world, this ecosystem that you're a part of is living and breathing at all times. That just takes being aware and living in it for it to actually really hit and become integrated in your bones in a way that just taking a course or reading a book could never do.
Yeah, like astrology, one of my favorite ways I've heard it described before is the study of the quality of time, and like the study of the moment that you're in or had or will have, and what that time is like, basically. And we need to have spent time studying that and paying attention to it and being really in the moment and in the future and in the past, and being able to understand, like, okay, you know, somebody born in the 60s with a Jupiter Pluto in Virgo is going to be carrying that energy throughout their lives. The 60s is living through them. What was that time like? What does that mean for that person, for that time period, for that person now, for that person in 20 years? Like, what is the ever evolving experience of this quality of time and this time period? And seeing that turn into something where, you know, you can watch it and you can track it and you can go back eventually. Like I imagine StarScribe in 5 years, where you can go back and see that you wrote a note on April 9th, 2023, you know, 2 years before your Saturn return or whatever. And then go back and see after your Saturn return. Oh my God, I was such a different person. I was experiencing such a different quality of that time.
Truly, and things changed so much. I tried to just go back into my notes, and then StarScribe literally was like, you were inactive too long, basically, which honestly, I appreciate a lot. This is just worth mentioning because it's like real time, something that happened. If you're watching the video version, I like was off of StarScribe's page for a sec and then like went to click notes and it wanted me to sign in again, which I actually appreciate a lot as a person who like often gets really worried about like saving passwords, and I get really worried about security and stuff. And so the first time this happened to me, that I was on like a different tab or something and I clicked back over, I was like, oh, wow, they're really secure. It was like so hot to me. I was like, wow. And then there's no like remember me button. I was like, wow, hot.
Yeah, you have to sign back in. Like when we have the mobile app, we'll have either, you know, Face ID or a passcode or something to be able to get into your own journal. And once we develop the social features, and if you have like a public post or something on your profile, you can private it and it won't be like left on your post, like left on your profile, and you can take that away and keep that just to yourself if you change your mind. And we don't store any of your data on like a server where we can access it. It's encrypted to us too. So if you're journaling in StarScribe already, don't worry, Romina and I cannot see what you are doing. We have set it up specifically so it is actually private. It is encrypted. We cannot access it. And we don't want to. We don't want to sell your data. We don't want to read your journal. Like my wife journals, I journal, and we don't read each other's journals because we respect each other's privacy, you know? That's what we're doing with this too, where we're just making sure that we're not like paying attention to, you know, what you're saying, or we're not selling your data to be like, oh, this person had a bad day on March 30th. Hey, advertisers, would you like to advertise about whatever they were talking about? Like, you're never going to get whatever you were typing into StarScribe as an ad. You might, you know, just get an ad about whatever you're thinking about because the computers are in our brains these days, but it's never going to be because you put something into StarScribe.
Yeah, that's just so everybody knows, if your FBI agent pops you up with a really juicy ad, it's not from StarScribe. It's probably from Amazon. So there's that. Just so you know what your FBI agents are looking at, it ain't fucking StarScribe. Okay.
Yeah.
It ain't StarScribe. It ain't even Romina and Rowan, because they're like, no. And I think that's something that's huge to me because I'm such a journaler and such a planner. And I always have been. Like, I'm such a bullet journal hoe, like digital, physical. I've transitioned over the years, but my journal is so sacred. And I think anybody that keeps a journal or a diary of any sort can understand how sacred of a place it is to be able to just release everything that you're thinking and feeling, and to know that it's just for you. And the fact that on your end, as the creators, you understand how personal and how private that is, that you have literally integrated from the start. You're like, yeah, it's actually a journal. It's
not our business. It's your business, and it's your stars, your story, all in one place.
We could literally end it right there. That was so fucking cute. I'm dead.
But yeah, genuinely, we don't want to access your data. We don't want to sell it to anybody else. I've joked a couple of times, like, I don't even know how to sell data, even if I wanted to, like Googling how to sell data. Like, no, that's not our goal. We're not out here to, at the end of the day, make money off of this. We're out here to provide a service. We're out here to do something that we believe in and something that we think that you will also enjoy, dear listener.
Aw, I love you so much, Rowan.
I love you.
Aw. Okay, so tell us where people can find you and like book you and your, before we wrap up about StarScribe, let's wrap up about Rowan and talk about Rowan and what Rowan offers, and also anything that you're particularly excited about right now, or something you're offering that you're really hyped on, or anything at all about you and your practice that you wish to share at the end here.
Yeah, you can find me at rowastrology.com. That's ROW astrology. That's also my Twitter and Instagram handles. I'm not on TikTok because video content scares the living shit out of me. But I have my books open temporarily, but they will be closing pretty soon. I have a few massive projects with StarScribe to
Yeah, you're not
complete.
busy or anything.
No, I'm not busy at all. I'm not like working 7 days a week or anything like that. Like, it is my favorite thing in the world to do astrology. It is the light of my life whenever I am doing consultations, but I'm also very booked and busy right now. So if you are interested in getting a consultation with me, I ask for up till April 22nd to donate to the StarScribe Kickstarter and send me a DM or an email at rowastrology@gmail.com with your StarScribe Kickstarter receipt. And that would be the best way to work with me for now. Otherwise, I do take natal, solar return, synastry readings, and I'm still offering year ahead readings, even though we're all the way into April now, on my website at rowastrology.com. And I also run every other year traditional astrology beginners course. We call it traditional astrology summer camp. And it is basically a basic introduction and full ground level introduction to traditional astrology, especially Hellenistic astrology, but also incorporating medieval and other Renaissance techniques as well. Yeah.
Super juicy.
Yeah, but you can find StarScribe at starscribe.co, find the web app at app.starscribe.co, and me at Row Astrology everywhere that I'm on.
Everywhere on the internet that I exist.
Everywhere that I go on the internet, I'm at Row Astrology.
Heck yeah. No, also, yeah, make sure that you get the characters correct because the scammers and the impersonators are still wilding out here. So make sure that if you give Rowan money, you're giving the real Rowan money.
Yeah, I will never DM you for a reading. You can DM me and ask for one, and then I'll send you to my website. But that'll be the true thing. I'll never be in your DMs like, hello, beloved. Would you like to schedule a reading with me? Because it's just not the way my Scorpio moon ass talks.
Absolutely not. Yeah, as a fellow Scorpio moon, I definitely understand that. When I started seeing the impersonators come out, I'm like, who in their right mind talks to people like this?
Right?
Like, who talks to people like this?
I had a friend from college get hit up by an impersonator, and they were like, I know the person that you're pretending to be right now, and they do not talk like that. So would you fuck off? And they were like, the impersonator just went, LOL.
Yeah, somebody said that to one of mine too. They were like, Mackenzie literally doesn't say that. And then they were just like, what? Question mark? And then like blocked them because they were like, oh, they're on to me.
So the moral of the story is beware scammers, don't pay AI, pay astrologers, and back StarScribe at starscribe.co.
Yes, back StarScribe, y'all. Thank you so much to Rowan for being here. This has been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been great to be here.
I'm pretty stoked about this. Honestly, if you are an astrologer, like a professional practitioner, if you are an astrology enthusiast, no matter what level of knowingness you have, this app is for you, and it is so deserving of your support. And so please go back it, please support it. And also please tell Rowan and Romina what an amazing job they're doing and how hard they're working and how grateful you are for their hard work. Come on now, y'all. So
yeah. Whether you know your sun sign or your master of your nativity, there's something with StarScribe for you.
She went master of the nativity. Yes, I love it. Yes. Thank you so much, Rowan. Thank you for being here and for listening, all of you, whether you're listening to the audio or watching the video version. Thank you so much for being here, and thank you for being funky. I will see you the next time our fates weave together.
Bye.